Let's dive right into this explainer and strip away all that polished marketing jargon to expose the hidden reality of our digital lives. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and honestly pretty alarming piece of source material called the dopamine hijack, the human harvest. The concepts in here fundamentally challenge how we interact with our screens every single day. So let's map out the author's argument step by step. We're coming right out of the gate with this core premise from the text. They aren't trying to entertain you. They are trying to farm you. The entities running our digital spaces do not look at you as a user. They don't even look at you as a customer. The text argues they view you as a biological resource, someone whose neurological vulnerabilities can be mapped out and systematically harvested for profit. It really sets the stage for everything we're about to uncover. Section 1. The biological slot machine. Let's look at the real dynamic at play here, which is basically the algorithm versus your midbrain. There's this massive lie we've all been sold about the digital era, the willpower myth. The narrative society constantly pushes is that your inability to put your phone down is just a personal failing. You just lack discipline. But the source material lays out a totally different reality. You aren't just failing at willpower. You are an individual armed with fragile, ancient instincts, going up against a trillion-dollar network running military-grade behavioral algorithms. It's a completely asymmetrical war. Section 2, Weaponized Surrender. Here, we dig into the secret science buried in behavioral design manuals, the exact tactics engineers use to siphon your engagement. The crucial mechanism they use is called intermittent reinforcement. This is the exact same neurochemical weapon casinos use to empty bank accounts. The source explains that if you give a creature a predictable reward for an action, it actually just gets bored. But if that reward is unpredictable, like a massive wave of pleasure one moment and absolutely nothing the next, the creature becomes completely obsessive. And this psychological flaw is engineered directly into every single social feed you use. Think about the artificial anxiety loop we go through constantly. You know that tiny half-second lag when you pull down on your screen to refresh a feed? According to the text, that isn't just your internet being slow. It's an artificial pause built in specifically to create panic. Your brain actually floods with cortisol, the stress hormone, and then boom, the content loads, and a massive surge of dopamine hits your brain to relieve that exact stress. They're literally manufacturing anxiety just to sell you the cure a millisecond later. Section 3. Mutating the human animal. The text argues that this entire process isn't just stealing your time, it's physically altering the architecture of your brain. From an evolutionary standpoint, our brains are wired to reward deep, sustained effort for survival, things like the intense focus required for hunting, building shelter, or bonding with a community. But modern engineered reward systems provide that exact same massive chemical payload for the price of a single zero-effort swipe. The effort has been completely divorced from the reward, meaning you're triggering volcanic eruptions of dopamine for absolutely zero real-world achievement. So what happens? To protect your nervous system from literally burning out, your biology shuts down its own sensors. When your brain gets repeatedly blasted with artificial hyperstimulation, it panics. The source explains that to prevent your synapses from completely frying, your brain simply destroys its own dopamine receptors. It acts as a drastic emergency defense mechanism. And this burnt-out state is the root cause of chronic brain fog and numbness. Because your receptors are completely depleted, normal, foundational human activities, like reading a profound book, learning a complex trade, looking at a quiet landscape, or even just sitting with your family, now feel incredibly boring, or even physically painful. You've basically been conditioned to only feel alive when you're staring at a high-contrast piece of glass. Section 4. Attention Extraction Economy. This is where focus becomes currency, moving from more personal biology to the macro-level impact the authors outline. So we really have to ask, why are they doing this? Looking past just basic advertising revenue, the source text asserts that we've transitioned into a global attention extraction economy. In this new system, human focus is a tangible, physical resource, and it's treated as far more valuable than crude oil or gold. Think about what a human mind whose focus has been harvested and broken down to a mere 8 seconds simply cannot do. It cannot organize a community. It can't read deep historical philosophy. It cannot identify complex systemic corruption, and it certainly can't build an independent life. The authors make a chilling point. If your attention span is fundamentally broken, authorities don't need physical chains to control a population. They just need to dictate the boundaries of your attention. Under this system, you aren't really making decisions anymore. You're a reactive, consuming machine. The dynamic is frighteningly simple. If they want you angry, they feed you an engineered headline. If they want you fearful, they push a flashing alert to your lock screen. If they want you to spend money, they trigger a social envy loop. It's essentially a set of neurological puppet strings making you perfectly predictable. Section 5, Ruthless Digital Insurgency. Tactical survival. Now let's shift gears to the concrete solutions proposed by the text to push back against the supercomputer. As we established, you do not fight a supercomputer with willpower alone. Instead, the text argues you have to starve the machine with raw, uncompromising absence through 3 key steps. Because the matrix only exists as long as your eyes are fixed on the screen. The absolute second you look away, the illusion loses its grip entirely. Let's break down these 3 steps. Step 1 is cultivating a psychological vacuum. You basically have to let your nervous system scream for stimulation without giving it a single inch. The text suggests forcing absolute, deafening boredom, sit in a dark room with nothing but your own thoughts. By doing this, you are giving those burnt-out dopamine receptors the profound silence they actually need to physically heal. Step 2 requires cognitive isolation. You have to actively reject the frantic, hyper-fast pace of the algorithm and return to slow, heavy thoughts that take days to fully develop. So instead of reacting to internet opinions that were formed 5 minutes ago, the authors challenge you to read texts written by people who lived thousands of years ago. Cultivate slow thoughts, not rapid-fire reactions. Step 3 is building an untrackable life, creating an existence that simply cannot be quantified, tracked, or packaged by a corporate database. This means doing profoundly physical things. Go out into nature without a device on you. Build things with your actual physical hands. Have real, untethered conversations with absolutely no phones present in the room. Reclaim the physical world. By executing these steps, you are actively taking back your autonomy. The source frames this not just as some trendy wellness hack, but as a literal act of asymmetrical warfare against the digital attention economy. Every single minute you manage to spend in deep, unbroken offline focus is a direct strike against the system that profits off your distraction. The text leaves us with a very clear, uncompromising plea. The screen is a cage designed to hold your attention hostage, and your free will is waiting for you in the offline silence. So ask yourself this. When you inevitably reach for your phone sometime in the next 10 minutes, who is actually making that choice? You or the algorithm?